Welcome to another episode of She Speaks, and this is one of the grand She Speaks Raw Talks where Nada and I are having a conversation together, but also with you, and we are super happy to have you. And this conversation is extra special because we're actually letting you into this space that we're at right now energetically, and we were like, well, we need to make this a call. So, today we want to talk about this idea of why are you afraid to be quote-unquote broken? And we're noticing this with a lot of people trying to just hold on to that last little bit of the illusion or where they're at or what they think they have. And there's two really strong pieces that have stood out to me about this. And one is the broken state doesn't end you, it begins you, right? So that's the first thing we want to start with. And the other thing is we need to release the illusion of being broken. Are you in fact broken, or are you just in transformation? So with those two things said, I want to really kick it off to you, Nada, because, you've come up with a lot of course, always insightful things, and we've been sharing these things during the conversation. But one of the things that we've been talking about is why are people so afraid to just let it go? Let go of the illusion of the old self. Let go of these ideals that we think we're supposed to have. Let go of the job, the career, the relationship, whatever it is. What's going on with us in this fear of quote-unquote being broken? Talk to me, girl.
Yeah, just as you were saying, we're really in this interesting space, and this isn't the first time that you and I have been in this space together. But it's something about this particular space that we are saying, you know what? Let's let people into this space, and let's actually teach and share and expand from this space, because it is such a unique occurrence that we say, hey, why not? Because just as you were saying, it is really something that we've been conditioned, whether it's societal, whether it's religious, whether it's generation, whether it's peers, it doesn't matter. We've been seriously handed this, this deck of cards that really can be counterproductive because in how we were dealt these cards. We are basically taught that when you break, or when you allow yourself to break, that you're weak. When you allow yourself to feel these feelings, you are weak. When you allow yourself to express these feelings or this space that you're in, you're weak. And what we're saying and what we've experienced is it doesn't have to be that way. Let me say it that way. It doesn't have to be that way. One, I would say this: you're not weak. You're not giving up. You're not doing any of that. However, there's always choices wherever it is that we find ourselves energetically, physically. It really doesn't matter. There are always choices. And what we're saying is, when people deny themselves the experience of breaking, they are literally denying themselves that option or that opportunity of ascension. Most people, just as you say, they view that point of breaking, or that, being broken, as the end. And why are people right there? That's because that's what's been taught. Whether it's in movies, it really kind of doesn't matter. It's when you see somebody that is at a quote unquote breaking point or in a broken state, it's always interpreted as, oh my God, this is the end. And it can be the end if that is where your thought process is taking you. However, what Cal and I are saying is that it actually is the end of where you are, but the beginning of something new, if that's where you focus your energy. Because Cal, we've had some moments where we get on this phone and we'll be at that point of tears. We'll be angry. we'll be angry, we'll be confused, we'll be all these things. But in the end, once we allow each other that safe space of saying, girl, go feel that shit. Feel it so you can experience it and also learn how to navigate it. And then not only know how to navigate it, but also know how to extract your PowerPoints from it. Because some people will just flow through and be like, oh, my God, I'm getting beat up this whole time. Okay, but what are you learning while you're getting your ass whooped? Because something is teaching something, and because we're so accustomed to absorbing pain, and it's becoming the norm to just be in a painful state that we are looking at it's painful because, or this pain is teaching me, or, ooh, I'm going to learn this because this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to learn. Nobody is teaching people how to extract the PowerPoint.
It's true. It's true. And, I'm gonna stop you right there because you've already made several really good points that I want to go back and kind of touch on. And the first is, this idea that, when we stop ourselves from quote-unquote breaking, right, because we need to really start to change the verbiage. It needs to go from breaking to ascending, right? So when we stop ourselves from breaking, we are not only stopping ourselves from ascending, but ascension is the only connection you have to your true self. So the minute that you stop that process, you actually interrupt your own development. You actually interrupt whatever's going on, because if you're at your breaking point, right, to use the phrase, there's a reason why you're there. Somewhere you have not been aligned with your ideals, your dreams, your goals, or your values, right? So when we start looking at that, then we understand it. And that really comes down to, you mentioned making a choice, and choice is about perception. So are we seeing a breaking point, or are we seeing an ascension point? And this is why we always bring it back to language, right? Because if I say I'm broken, you even notice the body posture, right? You're slouched, you're limped, your breathing is labored, your eyes are low. There's something that happens in your body when you use that language. When you say I'm ascending, you can kind of step back, you can open up the chest, you can breathe a little bit deeper. Right? So, that's one point. The other point that I think we need to discuss is this idea of the hero and the heroine. We ain't never seen no movie where somebody had it easy and became, Storm or some amazing hero. No, everybody had it difficult. So when you deny that difficult part of your story, are you in fact denying the fact that you're a superheroine? I don't know. Talk to me about that, Nada.
Yeah. I mean, that is absolutely right. I want to back up just a tad and touch on what you were saying about the linguistics there.
Of course. Our favorite thing, girl.
Absolutely. Between using broken, so silly, between using broken and ascension, we were just actually talking about this, about why do we have to even make the choice? How come we can't be one as we're transitioning into, another? But then that also goes back into the teaching of it's either one way or another. It's like how come it can't. Yeah, it's like how come it can't be a fusion? But I definitely agree. It is that conscious awareness of when we are using those words to really, be aware of how the physical body, responds to the words broken. But you can use, I don't want to say you can use the word or keep using the word broken, but just use it to say, ooh, okay, I don't like how this feels, so I'm going to go ahead and, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, use it as a further step into self-awareness, but also just don't rush out of a process either. Just, I mean, if you have to be in if your process is taking you a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, don't try to rush out of the dang on process just so you can get to the feel-good phase of it, I mean, it's just...
Right. So true.
it is really interesting how
so true.
Healing has been kind of like packaged as super easy, feel good. We can say this affirmation or this mantra and we can get it, bam, just like that. Unfortunately, people, healing is not like that. Healing is painful, it's ugly. It can, I don't want to use the word bloody, but it is not pretty. It can get pretty in the end, but the process itself, the shit hurts. Okay? It no
one's ever seen a cocoon and said, "Oh, that's so pretty." I mean, you're kind of like, "Oh, get this off my porch," and then suddenly, you're like, "Oh, what is going on over there?" Right? And suddenly, when you realize it's a cocoon, for those of us that are, nature oriented, right? You're kind of like, "Oh, that could be a butterfly. Let me not mess that up." And it's like, well, why don't you treat yourself the same way? Because, honestly, your cocoon is going to be ugly. And I love what you said, Nada, because I think that the thing that we don't realize is we have individual forces but societal forces. And the societal forces have made healing in line with the production line, right? So you state your pain, you have someone fix you, you do an affirmation, and then you're supposed to be okay. Ha! 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 Anybody operating from that, please dismiss them from your life right now. Because chances are not only are they not living it, but they also haven't lived it. They haven't experienced it. And that's something that you have to understand. So that point of don't rush, okay? So that point of don't rush is really important. So just to recap before we go on, we've already hit two main points for you in changing where you're at right now. The first is see your broken points as an ascension, not a descension, okay? And actually, I'll even add a sub-point to that. When you use the word broken, also, as you use the word broken, understand that might have the connotation to fix it. And for those of us from dysfunctional families, that's a very difficult and dangerous place for us to be. So I always challenge you to use that language of broken versus ascension. If broken tempts you to fix it, because fix it means that you're not perfect, and perfection is an illusion. So really, if you want more on that, that's a personal session that you can have with Nada, actually, and that's some language that you need to go back and redo. And the other point is don't rush. Don't rush this, because I don't know your timetable, and nobody else does either. And I don't care, you got to go back to work, you got to do this, you got to do that, but you need to make time for this space as well. The next point that we're going to be bringing up is something that Nada just stated that I love, and I want you to expand upon this, which is extract power from your PowerPoint. So when you're going through it, it's not about just going through it and co-ruminating with your girlfriend about what he did to you and how the boss did you bad and how you're struggling, but what is the takeaway? What's the lesson? Can you talk a little bit more about that for us, Nada?
Yeah, definitely. Being in a space of transition, brokenness, ascension, whatever, we choose to, deem it and call it, going through this space of change, it really allows the opportunity for us to learn, period, point blank, that's it. However, some of us are just so focused, and it's a subconscious teaching to simply focus on what it is that you're feeling from your experience, and not what is the experience trying to teach you as you're feeling it. So really, if we can shift the perception as something happening to me versus something that I'm experiencing, it will allow you to open yourself up to actually begin to see how and what it is that we can learn from this pain that we're experiencing. Now, sometimes, depending on what it is that you may be experiencing, you may not see what the points are right away, but there is one thing that I always suggest is journal. If we can get that pain out of our mental highway, our minds, and bring it and kind of streamline it and put it on paper, then it will actually begin to present some form of clarity, if you will.
Right.
So that everything isn't just wrapped up in your mind and just keep constantly producing like all the emotion that comes with that, thought.
That's so true.
So, but the thing with the journaling, and you've heard me say this plenty of times, it's not journaling to keep yourself in that space. It's not journaling to dig yourself deeper. It's journaling to free yourself. It's journaling to provide the clarity, to actually provide what it is the subconscious is saying under what it is that you're going through, because our higher self is always speaking to us. Are we still enough to actually receive it and to discern what what the self is actually saying? I really hope that makes sense, to people.
No, it makes total sense, yeah.
Because even in the pain, we do have the option to be still. Pain shouldn't, I hate using the word shouldn't, but I'm going to say it. Pain shouldn't always cause us to be busybodies. Pain shouldn't always, put us in that space, as you just said, of, oh my God, what's wrong with me? How can I fix it? No, because some things aren't meant to be fixed immediately. Some things are just meant to be experienced, and the experience is the fixing. Yeah. Because you won't put yourself in that space again. No,
it makes perfect sense, and that's really something that was so powerful to me. I remember when I was with one of your talks one time, and I had told a little bit of my story, and your feedback was to journal, and it was so amazing how you felt my energy, because you heard this uncomfortable pause, and you were like, Cal, I don't mean journal like beat yourself up.
Right.
I mean journal as self-reflection. And that was a really powerful moment to me, because I think that we see journaling as this really heavy thing. And just for the women out there, just so you know, I have only journaled on and off probably 4 to 5 times in the last month, and that's because that's where I was. A lot of my healing took place sitting in the shower and crying, not thinking of anything. My mom passed. I've had issues in every area of my life, and all I could do was cry. But when I did journal, I would come out with 1 or 2 lines, and these lines would say, today sucks, but fuck it, I made it. You know what I mean? And, I really think that people see journaling as this big, in-depth, involved thing, but sometimes it's just a note to yourself that you're saying, oh, my gosh, I'm struggling, but I'm here, and I'm going to work through it. So that's really getting into another really powerful point, which is we need to start treating ourselves from a very strength-based perspective, not a weakness-based perspective. So when we see all of our faults and all the things we've been through, which is what happens sometimes in broken times, we ruminate, we co-ruminate, we do all these things to keep focusing on the negative, but where are the exceptions? How often do you find the exception to the rule, where you did actually maintain, where you did actually create something greater? And that's that subconscious piece that you talked about. So I want to kind of let you get into a little bit of, how the subconscious affects us. I mean, this is literally like subconsciousness is something that you really need to go for assistance on, because our subconscious runs everything. But I just want to give a scope of how subconsciousness can affect us, right? So whether it's childhood stuff, teenage stuff, whatever, we're still carrying it. And if you could just give a quick little brief, this is how your subconscious works and why it's important to kind of look at, and why this breaking point is actually a gift to bring you to your subconscious, that would be great, Nada. I know it's a lot. I know I just threw that on, but I know that this is a big deal of your work, and that's why we often talk about language. So when we say the language, and I'm going to give you a starting point. So for instance, when I say, are you ascending or are you broken? And you can use the word broken as you said, but what's your subconscious attachment to that language? That's an example, and I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that example. You have no idea how much that was needed. Yeah, so of course, the subconscious is responsible for nearly 93-95% of our conscious thought patterns and our actions, right? I mean, and that percentage, of course, whatever is some scientific, jargon, but in actuality, it is. If we were just to slow down just for a day or so and really pay attention and do like the critical thinking of our own thought processes, we would see just how much influence the subconscious mind is. So basically, our subconscious mind is what drives us. For instance, just as you were saying, the word broken. That word broken is just a symbol. It is a symbol, and that symbol was charged or sealed with a meaning based upon what was taught to you most likely in your childhood years. So if the word / symbol broken was charged or sealed with negativity when you were a child and it was never corrected or went through a process of you switching it out for it to mean something different, then in your adult years, most people think that, I'm an adult now. Okay, I'll get to that.
Right.
Most people think that, right, because I'm an adult that I'm going to think differently. Unfortunately, that's not how the subconscious works. Your subconscious is not dictated by time or age. It is dictated through the conscious effort that you put into it to change what it's been taught. So if the word symbol broken has been negatively charged as a child, and as when you become an adult and you come across healers and they come and they use the words broken, your subconscious is going to throw up red flags. Those red flags are going to be representation of walls, because it's going to identify immediately with what you were taught when you were a child. It has nothing to do with you being an adult. It's going to immediately identify with what you were taught as a child, unless you've done the work to restructure or repattern what the word broken means. So it doesn't matter how much work on the surface or consciously you try to do with the word broken. If you were to come to me, for example, and you say, well, I feel like I'm in a broken space and I can't get past feeling like I'm unworthy at my job. I give my boss ideas and he never accepts them, so it makes me feel like I'm unworthy or I'm not good enough, and that causes me to feel like I am broken. And so what that experience does, it basically supports what it is that you've been taught as a child, that the word broken is negative. So what that sister and I would do is do the work, whatever that would call for, to understand that the word itself is just basically charged with an experience. So you have to just go through the steps of separating the word from the experience. Because until then, the word broken will always register in her subconscious as something negative. So bottom line, if you want to change something, you have to address it on a subconscious level. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how much education you think that you have. I don't care how many degrees you think you have. I really don't care, because we know people with masters and PhDs and whatever else that they may have still have serious issues because they have not addressed whatever they need to address on a subconscious level.
And go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I was going to just say it's not dependent upon your education. Your education does not dictate the subconscious. It just doesn't.
That's kind of what I wanted to feed off of, is that both you and I are accredited in our profession. You know what I mean? We are accredited, but we never actually care about that. We are so concerned with the fact of, does our internal match the external? And and it's like, we both hold degrees, we both hold, these certifications that we can do what we do, but part of the reason why we have what we have in our educational fields is that we got them because we already did what we knew we could do. It wasn't, it was the internal influence and the external, not I got a degree and that validates me, right? Because we know a lot of people out there that are healers that are doing their thing, but they're not actually valid. And that's an entirely different conversation, but I'm just saying that that's something that also needs to be addressed. And with the perception that we're talking about, I also want to talk about the need to externalize your pain. You cannot keep saying, I am depressed, I am, this, I am that, because am is an action state of being. So the minute that you say that, you're actually reaffirming to your life that that's how you're going to continue being. So when we start to look at pain and the difficulties that we're going through, we have to externalize them. Like, I have suffered from depression, right? That turns it into a noun. Depression now becomes a noun. It becomes a separate entity. I have suffered from frustration. I have suffered from sadness. I have suffered from, now it's separate from you. And I think that this is a really important point that women need to understand. You need to make what you are experiencing separate from you. And you kind of just touched on that, but I want to give you a little bit more room to go into that, because I think this is a really key piece where we're getting hung up. So go ahead, Nada. Anything you have on that?
Yeah, I mean, it is a matter of linguistics. I think it comes right back to a matter of the linguistics first, and then after that, it's about the alignment. It may be something that we are verbally saying that we want, but subconsciously and emotionally, it's saying the exact opposite. So what it is that what it is that you're saying is not going to happen, because everything is in conflict, with each other.
Which gets us back to those whack-ass affirmations, right? It's like, you can affirm, okay, girls, let's just keep it 100. You can affirm a million times, I deserve to get what I deserve in life, and I deserve love, but you know what? If your subconscious is not in line with that, and further, you haven't externalized your circumstances from your being, good luck with that affirmation. Good luck with that. Go ahead, Nada. I'm sorry. How to just in on that.
Yeah, definitely. No, good luck with it is actually, quite true, because if you are constantly using your word power to support where it is that you're trying to get out of, then, good luck with, the energy coming behind you to support what it is that you're saying, because linguistically, you can't hold yourself hostage. Linguistically, you cannot hold yourself hostage. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't, just as you said, you can't say, I am suffering from depression, but you are also saying that you don't want to be depressed anymore. You need to make a choice. Do you or do you not want to be depressed? And if not, then your linguistics has to begin to change to actually support what it is that you want. I mean, and it's a matter of, switching it out. So if you are in that state of, quote unquote, depression, then okay, then your linguistics will look different than if you're not in that state of depression anymore. So
Absolutely.
You can't say, well, you can't be out of depression and then say, yeah, I am suffering from depression, or I feel like I'm still depressed. Okay, look, because what I need you to do is seriously understand the ramifications of that linguistic conflict that you keep creating. So when you come out of it is I used to have, or I had, or I journeyed through. It literally is keeping it separate from you and in the quote unquote past. It's not being identified as your current state or your current person. And most people really need to understand just the power of linguistics and how it pairs up with the subconscious.
And it's not to say that when you are suffering from depression, you're suffering from this, you don't need the proper medical consultation. It's not to say that you don't need the proper therapy. It's not to say you don't need these things. It's to say that what you do is you switch your mind state from whatever I'm taking or whatever I'm using is not to fix me. It's to help heal this piece of me. Those are two different, totally different paradigms. And until you fix that in your head, you can take as much Prozac, girl, as you want to. You could go see as many psychiatrists and therapists as you want to, but it ain't going to fix the fact that deep down, you're still feeling flawed. You're still feeling flawed. This isn't a flaw. It could be a chemical imbalance that happened because your brain actually tried to amend itself to trauma, for example, right? You went through traumatic experiences. Your brain tried to adapt. Because of that, your serotonin, your all these brain things, listen, I could get into the medical, but all these things are misaligned. What we're saying is now align yourself with the healing portion of you. Because when you've been through so much, especially in trauma, you begin to identify with your dis-ease, D-I-S-E-A-S-E. Let me make that clear. Dis-ease. So once you identify with your dis-ease, now you're coming upon the problem that even if someone were to, quote-unquote, fix you, right? Because everybody go to a therapist to fix them. Everybody go to a doctor to fix them. Once you identify with that paradigm, you are still a victim. You are still a victim. And I don't care how happy you might feel on Thursday, girl, I'm sorry for you on Saturday. Because you have not done the work to not be a victim. So with that, I want to get into one of our final main points, which is the adult years. I'm all grown up. I pay the rent. I have a car. I'm going to get engaged, but I'm not quite sure what that looks like. I'm going to have, whatever that entails for you. I want to talk about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, okay? We got a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas that are actually weighing on us a lot. So when we are in the state of, and bringing it back to our, our original thing, we're in the state of being broken or ascension. When you look at your values, are you in your values? Are you in their values? Let's talk about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, Nada. Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay, so just to clarify here, so when you're saying the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, are you saying there's things that we shoulda did, we coulda did? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's the I should have done this, I could have done that, I would have done this, but I'm going to give you the context. The context is often, as we know, you and I, under what someone else felt we should have, could have done. And honestly, when we reach ascension, when we reach that broken place, again in quotations, what that means for us, it's often that we realize that we have distanced ourselves from the expectations of others, and now we're kind of wondering, what would it look like if I lived my own life? I hope that context brings some clarity.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, we all have the moments that we feel like, we all have the moments, where we say, man, I sometimes wish I, could have, done this, differently, or I wonder what happened if I would listen to, this particular, piece of advice. But the point is that's all fine, but how do I say this? It has the potential those kind of questions have the potential to be helpful if you have done the foundational work to know how to pull yourself out of that line of questioning. However, if you have not done the foundational work to know what your center is, to know how to get to your center, and if you get off of it, how to get back to it, then that's actually a really dangerous line of questioning, which unfortunately a good deal of people still do that. And of course, I still do it sometimes. I wonder what it is. I would that.
It's a human thing. That's what people don't get. Like, just accept that moment as a human thing. It's what you do with that human moment that makes the difference.
Right, absolutely. It's the only thing I can really say to that, really, Cal, is, again, if you've done the work to know how to pull yourself back, then use those moments to where you start to question, to really see where you are right now, and I guess produce a sense of gratitude, if you will, for the status that you're in. And then if there's some changes that need to be made, then hey, just make the changes. However, if you're in a space where you have not done that foundational work, I can't just say don't have the thoughts. That's like saying to a child, don't play with your toys. I mean, seriously, you are going to have the thoughts. It's what you do, just as you said, with the thoughts. So again, I'm going to, of course, just suggest my favorite, which is journal. Get that out of your mind, and put it on paper so that you can begin to get some clarity.
And you know what? There's a lot of people, and I'm just going to interject really quick. There's a lot of people writing's not their thing. And I'm going to tell you right now that we have so much technology that there are times where I can't journal, but I literally have voice memo on my phone on like accessibility. Sometimes I'm driving and I'm so frustrated. Like, I'm so mad at life and I can't. And I just hit that voice memo, ladies. I just start talking. And as I'm talking, clarity comes to me. I'm saying to myself, oh, my gosh, I had no idea I felt this way. Or, oh, my gosh, I had no idea this person was treating me like that. And so I think in this era of technology, journaling isn't always, you can put it on paper. You can put it on memo. You could literally make a video of yourself in your time saying, girl, I don't know what you're doing, but I hope you look back 20 years from now, you fix that. You know what I'm saying? You heal that. So I say use technology. So when we say journaling, we actually mean it to encompass all of these awesome things. And I don't think anyone's really touched on that yet. I don't think anyone's really touched on how expansive journaling could be, Nada.
Yeah. You know what? That is a brilliantly beautiful point. It is, because what you just did is one of my favorite things to say is, you remove the excuses. Some people may say, I don't like to write, or I may not always be in a space where I can journal. Okay, guess what? I'm sure you have your phone with you. And I know that you can, do something with your phone, or you're on a laptop and you may not want to get off to actually write. Okay, go to Word, go to Notepad, go somewhere. It is always an avenue for you to express yourself. I mean, and then it really boils down to a choice. Are you going to hold this and allow it to keep manifesting itself in ways that are clearly unproductive and becoming self-destructive? or will you use that exact same energy that you're using to create excuses to create opportunities for yourself to heal? It literally boils down to a choice.
Right. Right. And that's such a clear choice that people need to start to make. And you know, in that choice, I want to get to one of our final points for the call, which is what are these PowerPoints we keep talking about? What does it mean to really sit and talk with someone and at the end of the call have a PowerPoint? Because, Nada, let me tell you, I mean, since our relationship began, and ladies, this is another thing you need to realize, okay? When you talk about relationships, stop looking for it to be with a romantic partner. Your best relationships happen with your spiritual partner, and that partner can be whoever it is, but it's that partner that aligns you with yourself. So my partner's Nada, just so everybody knows.
Yay.
She's my partner, and so I'm saying, girl, you know we love our PowerPoint. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So PowerPoints are really just those streamlined, how do I say this? Those streamlined focal points.
Right.
And it's really, really interesting. I was working with a sister last Saturday, and I had her do an exercise, a writing exercise. And from that writing exercise, I had her to deduce it, because
that's awesome.
It's a process. It's a process of streamlining. And when you do the streamlining process, then you are subconsciously telling your subconscious, I only want you to focus on this. So she had like 2 paragraphs that she read. I said, okay, from those 2 paragraphs, I need you to highlight this. And from that highlighting, I need you to circle this. So she's only technically pulling out what's necessary for her subconscious to begin to repattern itself.
Right.
You know, and
that's so powerful.
And it is those things that serve as her PowerPoints. These are things that you will focus on so that you can begin to reconnect with yourself, which puts you back in your self-empowerment phase, which is just power, you know, all the way around.
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, it's just really just streamlining whatever it is that we talked about, that you've written down, and you streamline it to the point where you only pull out or circle or bring to the attention of your subconscious of what you wanted to focus on. Because people don't understand that your subconscious must come under subjection if you consistently tell it to do so. Most people quit, you know,
they
after
do.
1 or 2 times and saying, well, I can't do it. You want to know why? Because you quit. That's why you can't do it, and that's why your mind keeps running you, because you quit. So the goal is to take control from your mind and say, I got this. Thank you. Pass the baton. I got this. And so now your mind... So now your mind now has to do what it is that you tell it to do, because that in essence is what it was created to do, not run you, but unfortunately that's how it's been. It's been running it, and people wonder why their mind is constantly going. Well, because you ain't told it to stop. What do you mean?
Because essentially what we're talking about is the spiritual Olympics. I mean, literally, this is the spiritual Olympics. Like, anyone who's in the Olympics, you go through physical training, kids. But at the end of the day, this is what spirituality is about. It's about that constant spiritual training every day, and not in a spiritual training of religiosity. Let me make that distinction clear. We are not fans of religiosity. We say if religion leads you to a spiritual place, we're for you. But if religion leads you to a place where you are now enforcing all of these negative, subconscious, blah, blah, blah ideals, we're not for it. This is the Olympics. So I'm not saying these are your PowerPoints, ladies, but we're getting to the end of the call. You know, we don't make our calls to go past, 15 minutes or an hour, because we know people got time. But this is what I'm going to give you. And all of you ladies can take these PowerPoints, however you want, because, if we're going to talk about PowerPoints, of course, we going to bring them out, okay? So if you got your own PowerPoint, I'm glad you wrote them notes, girl. You better read them and do it, okay? But here's our PowerPoint. The first PowerPoint is relanguage, okay? Are we in brokenness or are we in ascension? And if we choose the verbiage of brokenness, what does that mean for us, okay? The second thing is don't rush. We are all going through things, literally, y'all. Just so you know, I lost my mom probably 2 months ago. She died suddenly. I have already been without a dad. I already had a lot of things that I've had to work on, and I transmuted all that. I created that energy into something great, of course, with my sister's help. And the third is the subconscious in pain. Be still. Be discerning. Know that your subconscious is active, so what is your subconscious telling you? And when you start to look at that, we're going to get to our PowerPoint 4, which is what is your perception, your experience? Are you internalizing or are you externalizing? Point 5, the adult years. Are we still in shoulda, coulda, woulda from somebody else? Or are we looking at how we want to design our lives? The sixth point is we're removing excuses. There's too much technology around for you to not be able to reflect and do the work at any time, all times of the day. We're not telling you got to go in a mountain and be a monk. We're not telling you got to go in and become, the churchgoer that goes 7 days a week. We're saying what are the things that stop you from reflecting on yourself, because there's too much technology, girl. You better open your little word book. You better open your little voice memo. You better do something before you come to us. And the seventh point is PowerPoint. Every conversation you have with a girlfriend, friend, or relative in your life literally should sound like this. Nada and I don't have these conversations because we think we are so extraordinary you can only get it from us. We have these conversations to model for you what your conversations in your life should look like. Because believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, these are the conversations Nada and I have every time we talk. This is what it looks like. If she and I are not reaching some sort of evolution by the end of the call, she and I aren't having a conversation. We text each other. We say, where are you at energetically? Oh, hey, how you doing? Hey, can we, chat about this? And when we chat, we don't chat and talk about the other person. We chat and talk about our own evolution. So, ladies, stop being a victim. Stop being afraid to be, quote, unquote, broken. Stop being afraid to reach your ascension. And that is the ultimate message of this call. This has been another wonderful She Speaks Raw. I want to give a big up to my girl, Nada Crystal. She is available on Facebook and also at Woman Arise at Yahoo. Just to spell that out for you, that's WOMAN, WOMAN, because sometimes people do the EN, .arise at yahoo.com. And you can reach us, you can talk to us, and we are looking forward to our next call. Thank you so much, and have a great day.